Hi, everybody. It's me again, Charles Norman, Sports Solutions, LLC. We are the creators of AthleticSOS. It is a software program that we give to you at absolutely no cost. I give you a code, I give you instructions for how to use it down below. It is for high school athletes, but we've been adding to it for the younger athletes. So we're really focused on the ages 5 to 17. So all of our products, everything that we build is to make youth sports, give your kid the best opportunity to lead a remarkable life once they're done playing sports. Now, whether they play at the collegiate level or if they go on to be a professional, all that's great. But we want to make that journey from 5 to 17 just remarkable for them and get them set up for what we call a remarkable life. Some people will call it a successful life, but regardless of what you want to call it, if they don't play sports, to me, it's mandatory now. And this is 2025. We're coming out of July, going into August. The back to school thing is starting to get set up. And sometime around October, November, you're going to start signing your kid up. And so this one is for the rookie parent, the parent that's just getting started. They've got their kid, they've got the bright eyes. They're very naive about this whole process, and they're going to make their biggest mistake ever when they're going to go and they're going to take their kid and they think youth sports is about going out and having fun, which it should be. And then they're going to put their kid out there completely unprepared and get this eye-opening first season where their kid is behind everybody else and they don't know how they got there. So we want to fix that. I don't want that. I want your kid to have a successful youth sports career because it will change your life. I promise you, you want your kid to play sports. I don't care what else they end up doing for the rest of their life, but they need to play sports and they need to play early. It's going to make the biggest difference, and I'm going to explain why right now. So normally what we think about when I was coming up, you just sort of played in the streets, right? You just had fun. You go down to the park and you play with your friends and you play a little bit at school and you just get into this world of just learning the sport a little bit. And then if you decide to go out for a team, then you go out and some people will kind of train you, right? They'll get you ready to play. And you kind of move through this world. And if you're really, really talented, you kind of get moved over. Somebody will come over and talk to your parent. And next thing you know, you're on this travel club program, or you play, NJB, AYSO, or you play one of those, or you play in the rec league first, but you're a good athlete and you get moved over and your parents just sort of get guided through the process. Well, that world's over. Moving forward. Now, I think it was already kind of going away. The competition to get a college scholarship, an athletic scholarship, has been brewing, I'd say, for the last 10 to 15 years. So if you believe in a merit-based system, just turn this off right now, because that's been gone forever. I don't even know if there was ever a merit-based system in the U.S., but people like to think that. It makes you feel better. It feels like I have a chance if I do things the right way, if I'm good enough, if I'm better than that other person. But that's not how it works. There's a whole bunch of people better. And even the best, there's the best that we can see, like the professional level, the Olympic level, or even the collegiate level, there's somebody better than them that never even got to get on the court, the field, or in the competitive arena. And that's just the way sports is. It has very little now to do with merit. Like you deserve to be there, or you are the person that has worked the hardest, or whatever all of that is, that's not there. And that's why I think this is important, because it's now trickled into life. If you weren't in position before you came out of college, if you don't know somebody that works at that company or do that, try to get a job now. And in fact, I think a lot of people are starting to find that out as they're in their 30s, 40s, and they're getting laid off. And they did everything right, but now they're getting laid off and things are, and it's having a hard time getting back on their feet. And it's come to a surprise. A lot of people are having mental issues about this. But that is where the world was going. The message was already out there. And so what does this have to do with a kid that's 5, 6, 7 years old? So from 5 to 9, what we're trying to do with them is we're trying to say, okay, let's get you off to a good start in life, and sports is going to be one of those avenues. And so how do we do that? How do we make sure that your kid, if they're going to get started playing sports, because it will be, and I'll explain a little bit as we move forward, it will be a key to them leading this, what I like to call a remarkable life. So the first thing, and I think the biggest mistake parents make is the one I kind of mentioned earlier. They put their kids into a sport and they know nothing about the sport. And who they're competing against are the parents that already played at high level, high school, they played college, They may have played in a professional level. And so their kids are already one step ahead, or they're going against kids that have older siblings. So their older siblings have already played, have already made the mistakes that you're going to make as a novice parent. And then their kids are already a step ahead. And you don't see it until you go to the first tryout. And you're like, wait a minute, how are these kids so good? And your kid is fumbling and stumbling all around the field. And that initial entryway makes your kid not want to play. Kids do not like to be embarrassed. They don't want to look off. They don't want to get teased. They don't want to get laughed at, all of that kind of stuff, right? And it's good for them a little bit. They get a little bit tougher, but most people don't like that, right? And then so your kid doesn't have the enthusiasm to play, and you're already off to a bad start. And so that could be their first sport, and then you go to the next one and the next one and the next one. And you keep trying, but your kid's already got a taste of what it feels like to not be at the forefront. You've been loving your kid forever. You give them hugs. You know, they're the greatest. You know, all of that kind of stuff. And now they've had this disappointment. And some kids never get over it, and they never even get off to a good start. So you always want to make sure that, and you can do this now. Just go online. What are the basics that my kid needs to know before they start playing this sport? What should they be able to do? And you can find out what that is. So I think that's the first step. The second step is, and I think this was one that almost everybody overlooks. What you want to do is you want to put your kid into a sport in which they are going to be one of the oldest kids at this first time out. So, and this came to me when my kids were younger. My son, born in July, and he was on this precipice of, he was too young. He needed to play with the older kids. He couldn't play with the kids that were in his age group, and it was just the date of his birthday. 2 weeks earlier, everything changes, but that's my fault because I put them in basketball. I knew a little bit about basketball, so I put them in basketball. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but it was a big deal. My daughter, on the other hand, was born in March. I put her in basketball. She's 5, 6 years older than a lot of the kids are going to play, and she was already a good athlete. But I know this is a factor because all the girls she played around, the ones that ended up getting a Division I college scholarship in basketball, they were born January, February, March, almost all of them. I mean, they played at a high level anyway, but I'm just saying that their maturity when they first walked out there, you can see the difference. Now it depends on what sport you're playing and what the cutoff dates are. So take your time and find out what the cutoff dates are for a lot of the sports. Now, most kids start off, if your parents don't know anything, they'll put them in AYSO. It's soccer, right? You're just running around, you're kicking, you don't have to worry about your hands so much, and you're just running and you're getting all that energy out, which is why a lot of parents put their kids in sports in the first place. All cool. Let them go out there and run and jump. And so what's great about AYSO and soccer is you can kind of get a feel for your kids' athleticism. Even though they don't quite know what they're doing, they're all running past the ball and stuff like that. You can see if your kid's fast, if they're quick. And here's the biggest thing for sports, and I will tell you guys this. If your kid is fast and quick, it is the rarest of combinations, because what that equals out to is explosiveness. They can just go. And then everybody always asks, okay, so what's athleticism? What does that mean? My kid's athletic. To me, this is just my formula, and you guys can look up. It could be anything that you want it to be. But it's the ability to put your body where you want it, in the position you want it, when you want it. So you can get to where you want to get to, and you believe in it. You've got that speed and quickness, that explosiveness. You can get your body where you want it, when you want it, in the position you want it. If you can do that, then you are athletic. Now, some people will be able to do it a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, all of that kind of stuff. But that is the key, because once you believe in yourself, and sports is this micro, milli-inch, second, whatever is going on, your belief in yourself and your ability to get where you need to be, where you want to be, and how you want to be there, that is the difference. Because a lot of kids don't believe that. That little bit of hesitation, that little moment, that millisecond, changes everything in sports, right off the fingertips. You know, you almost blocked that, or whatever is going on. You almost made it through. You almost had that goal. You almost saved the goal. Whatever you're playing, that little bit is what makes the difference in early success. So if you have a really great athletic kid, then the world's kind of open to them in a lot of ways. Now, a lot of kids are athletic, so people put their kid in a sport and they're athletic, but the sport's not their sport. This is the next piece. And so I believe this. So in our software, if you go down there, even if you have a young kid, it's really for high schoolers, but we're adding the stuff in now for the younger kids. If you go in there, there's a drop-down list because you have to select a sport. And so there's a drop-down list. Every every sport, and there's 34 of them on that list, are sports that you can get an athletic scholarship, and most people don't even think about it. Things like archery and sailing and rodeo and all these other sports that are out there that are available to your kid, they're available to you guys to get athletic scholarships. So that's the other important thing is people get stuck on the easy sports, the ones that are right in your neighborhood, things like that. But if you just branch out a little bit, you will find out that there's tons of sports. And I believe every single kid, there's a sport that they just fit. It just works for them. They're just able to do it. And you can't explain why it is, but it fits them. And you know how I know it's true? Because I know you know it's true. You've seen a kid somewhere, you've seen a player, even at the professional level, you go, this kid was born to do that. I mean, the game comes easy to them. And so if they can find that game and that sport, then they will have success there anyway, and other people will recognize it. And what ends up happening is you start off in either the rec league or one of the leagues, little league, T-ball, AYSO, NJB, NBA junior, whatever you're going to put them in. They start there, and then somebody sees them. Someone recognizes it, and then you get moved over. Somebody comes in, they whisper in the parents' ear on the way to the car, and then you're off to the races. And you have to decide from there where you go from there. So that is number one, is to get off to a good start. And I think if you do those things, you'll get there. The other thing is you want to concentrate on 2 sports. All right, so if you can find that natural fit one, you're in great shape. If you can find the one that your kid just likes to go to, or they have an older sibling, or you used to play or something like that, that should be number 2. But if not, just get them in at least 2 sports in different seasons that they can kind of focus on a little bit. And so we don't want to go too far. I'll talk more about that. So from 5 to 9, it's all about discovery, right? So you want to discover which sports. So you want to try as many different sports as you can. I know you're not going to try all 34, but take a look at your kid. Is your kid not athletic? One of the best ways to take a look at your kid and who they're going to be is take them to the playground where all the other kids are. Just take them to the park one day. All the kids are playing. Usually when there's a bunch of kids around, they'll start playing tag, or your kid will start trying to figure out what the other kids are doing and copy them because they want to belong. We're social creatures. So normally we want to belong. If your kid's shy, just get them up on the monkey bars or on the swing. Can they get started on their own? Things like that. You will be able to tell what your kid's athletic personality is. If they're playing chase, you're it, or whatever they're doing, hide and seek, whatever they're doing, if your kid is the one that kind of just stands around or doesn't run, if the kid's running at them full speed and your kid takes off or runs first because they know they don't believe in their speed or their quickness, you will know your kid doesn't feel athletic like that. If your kid is the one that stands right in front of the kid trying to tag them or touch them to make them it, and they're just moving back and forth like this, and they're not even worried about it. In fact, they almost want to get tagged so they can go chase the other kid. That kid is that athletic kid that believes in who they are. They think that they can make it work, right? And so now you've got these different personalities. And so the athletic kid, you've got your basketball, your football, what I call athletic sports. And then you have your technical sports. I think baseball is technical. Golf is technical. Tennis is sort of a mix of technical and athletic. Very athletic sport, but technique is going to be there for you. But those are also sports where it's going to cost a lot of money. Skiing, sailing, things like that. You're going to spend a lot of money just being in that world. And so why is all this important? Because I want you to think past everybody else. One of the things we talk about I actually have another website called Hawk Mindset, right? And so the idea was that when in my neighborhood, we have an area we're right against a national park, a state park. And sometimes we go up there, me and my son will go up there and we're talking about business and stuff like that. And you can see that early in the morning, there's these worms coming out of the ground, right? The worms are coming up and there's a bunch of little birds that are lined up waiting for the worms to come up. But if you look around, there's a couple of hawks around. The hawks are after the birds who are after the worms. And so I was looking at that, I go, man, you want to be one step ahead of your competitors. Now, I know the little bird's not the competitor to the hawk, but you just see how the line is. But the funniest part about this to me, is that the little birds know the hawks are there. So they've positioned themselves in a way where the hawk can't really get down in there to them. And so it's really a game of cat and mouse there. I guess I went with hawks and birds, but you get the idea. So the idea for you, for your kids, you're trying to teach them to be one step ahead of everybody else. So you're pre-prepared before you go out to your first tryout. Doesn't even make sense normally because you think that coach is going to be able to try out, but that's somebody's parent that's out there. So anyway, that's the beginning piece. Now, Why is this so important as far as your kid leading a remarkable life? Because your kid could be a math or science whiz or an artist or a singer, you know, whatever they are. We always call it athlete and. If you know what else your kid is, you can use athletics. As your kid moves through the athletic world, you can use that, because what athletes get that no one else gets, they get access to places that, and they get a broader range of kids that are around them. If your kid goes into a special discipline, like I said, music, art, space, science, whatever it is, STEM, whatever you think is important and what's going to be there in the future so they can make good money, they're going to be an attorney or doctor, whatever that world is for you that you think is important, when they start off at 5, 6, 7, they are not, once they get into that world that you're talking about, they're going to have a special set of kids around them that are kind of like them. But when you play sports, you've got everybody. Everybody's going to play sports. And so that is going to be the key. That is the key to a successful life moving forward. Everybody feels it. Something's wrong in the world right now. And you're trying to figure out, okay, what would if you had a 14-year-old right now, what would you tell them? What world should they go into as they go into college? What should they take? What should their major be? What job is going to be around for sure? Absolutely for sure. You have no idea. Everything is blown up. AI, robotics, everything that's going on in the world right now. You don't know what's going to be able to have a job. And if you send them to college and they end up spending $50,000 to $300,000, you can't get out of that debt. You just set your kid up, to me, for failure almost. Yeah, they may be able to get a good job, but now they're stuck with this money that they have to pay back. Interest rates are high. Now, I know if you got a 5-year-old, it's not going to be the same by the time they're 17, 18 making these decisions, but I guess I want you to get into the mindset that if you can get them on the right path starting now, when they get there, their options are bigger than they are before. So, I'm this 5-year-old. Why is being around a bunch of different people a big deal? Why am I playing sports? The other thing that sports gives you that nothing else gives you is that someone on the other side is physically trying to defeat you. You don't get that with anything else. I don't care what else you're doing. Somebody, you may be in competition with other people. You may be in the spelling bee or the math bee or whatever you're doing there, but no one's physically trying to stop you. And that's going to be important as far as a competitive. And I think parents understand this. Because if you ever, when your kid starts playing, or if your kid has already played before, you've heard the parents on the walk back to the car after the game. They are on their kids' butts, and they're not on them necessarily because they lost. Now, there are some parents that get into that, but they will be on their kid. They feel their kid didn't compete. They don't like it. Parents do not like it. It's instinctive to us as a parent because we know how competitive the world is. You cannot have a kid that won't at least try to hold their own. They don't have to win every time. And you don't like it if they're on a team sport and they didn't carry their weight. Parents just, they go nuts over that. And you hear them going back and you're like, oh, this parent's out of control. But they're not fighting for their kid to have won. They're not fighting for their kid to be the best on the court or the field or whatever. They want their kid to hold their own. They want that superstar player that kid, your kid had to guard to after the game to go, hey, great game. Man, that was a lot of work. Or you really put me through it. Now, I may have destroyed you out there, but you really fought back. That's all most parents are asking for. Now, if you have a talented kid, you want to move forward in that world. But the bottom line, baseline for you is that your kid competes. And I think that's worthwhile. So you need to put your kid in sports no matter what they're going to do later on. And a lot of parents are like, well, they don't really like it. I just told you there's 34 sports. You could be rifle shooter. You could be skiing. There's independent sports. There's team sports. There's winter sports. There's water sports. There's too many sports out there for you to just sit back and go, oh, my kid's not really like that in athletic. What you're really saying is you don't want to take the time to find the sport that fits them. And if that's who you want to be, that's who you want to be. But I'm just saying you should at least give this an opportunity because it's there for you. Now, what does all this have to do with their life and leading a successful life? And I don't like to use the word successful, a remarkable life, because I don't know what your kid's going to do. I don't know what makes a life feel like it's worthwhile. I do for me, but I don't know what it's going to be for you and for your kids or how you guys feel. Well, here's what ends up happening is that as you're coming through youth sports, people are going to start peeling off, right? So by age 9, the separation is taking place. The kids that are really good early on, they found their sport, somebody's found them, they're gone. They're gone from the regular. You'll go AYSO, NJB, whatever you're into, T-ball. and they've sort of moved off. They don't come back the next year, and you don't know where they went. You know they were really good. In fact, you're thinking, hey, I want to be on their team again because you guys got along, right? Maybe your kid and that kid got along. Well, they've been siphoned off, and so the next set of kids are still there. And by the age 13, most of the kids that were just good enough or weren't very good, they've already fallen off. And one of the big things, and I've been doing this for years, I've been on panels where there's somebody in there that will make the statement that, you know, by age 13, 80% of the kids have quit playing sports. And the idea is that sports is just such a bad thing, and the way it's run and all this competitive stuff and parents acting crazy and coaches cheating and kids teasing other kids. And so they want to fix youth sports, but you don't fix youth sports because youth sports is life. That's what's coming up for your kids, all that stuff that we just talked about. But what really just happened was your kids have become teenagers, and at age 13, you're starting high school, and most kids don't make the high school team. That's just the way it is, whether it's for our soft or it's JV or it's varsity, there's only so many spots. So a lot of kids just tail off. They still play, but they play recreational. They're not going to go join a league because there's not very many kids at 14, 15 just playing for fun. Either they play high school or they play a travel club, or they're focusing on a sport that's not offered at the high school, but they're playing something. They're doing something. They've moved on, okay? So don't let anybody tell you, oh, you know, sports is just horrible, it gives kids, you know, mental problems, all that kind of stuff. Your kid is going to go through this in life, just in general. But here's why it's important to me that your kid played sports, because those kids that peel off are just as important, especially if your kid's a great athlete. Those kids that peeled off are going to be important as we move forward, because your kid's the good athlete, or they're not the good athlete, but they're around these good athletes. If they can become friends, if that top level athlete and the kid that may peel off before age 13, if they can connect early, because that kid that is not going to go on, they're going to go off and do something else. And if you get enough of those people in your life, and they're good people, this is the key to life. Being around a whole bunch of good people that are going to go off and do some other things. If you can get that and you're a good athlete, you have written your ticket to having a pretty remarkable life. Because what you get to do is use your gravitas as a good athlete. And when you're young and you're a good athlete, parents are slapping you on the back and congratulating you, and other, you know, referees and teachers, and everybody loves the good athlete, right, as they're coming through. And so if you're a good athlete and you can be a good person on top of it, that you can say, hey, you know, Johnny, little Susie that I used to play with, I can be a good person towards them. I can use my gravitas to give other people a leg up. And young kids remember how people made them feel, and how people were nice to them at that time. And so let's say you're in high school and you're walking through the campus and you see that kid that you played with at, you know, at 7, 8 years old, they were on your team, and you've moved way past them. You're in the high school, you're on JV, varsity, whatever, you're still playing. If you can say something to that kid, you can build that kid, hey, come on over here with me. Hey, what's going on? It's good to see you. How come you're not coming to the games? If you can be that person, you're going to have a remarkable life, because that connection that you can make, the way you can make other people feel by what you have, that's it. That is the magic. Your ability, your hierarchy, what you have going on, that is it. If you get that right, that's going to move with you as you move forward. And those other kids, the ones that are going to go off and go to college and do all these great things, they're going to remember that. And they may see you somewhere. They may reach out to you now. Everybody can reach out to whoever they want to. They're going to reach back out because you brought something special. Maybe you're done playing. Maybe it's over with. Maybe they're in a position and now you need a job, or you need this, or you need that. They're going to remember the person you were, and you've grown into this really great person because you didn't take and make yourself a prima donna. What you said was, hey, we were together, we were in competition, we played, and we got along. And I took what I had and I was good to you. And later on, that will come back to you. That's not the reason you do it. That's just being a good person. But you're using your athletic ability to do that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you guys. Now, that's great, Charles. You're saying, yeah, my kid's not the superstar. So how does it benefit them? The same thing for that superstar player, the same thing is available to you as a regular player, just somebody there. Because remember, I talked a little bit earlier, one of the things about playing sports is you go to all these different places. And so you're getting access, you're getting able to go, you're going to move here, a state over, you're going to play down the street, you guys are going across town, whatever it is going on, this is where parenting comes in. Who else is your kid? Your kid's an athlete. We always call it athlete and. What's your kid's and? And as a good parent, what you want to do is you guys go across town, you go over here, you go there, you're going to start looking up things and you're going to say, hey, while we're over there, I know you like to do this. When we get done with the game, we're going to go run over there. We're going to go do this. We're going to do that. And if there isn't anything like that early on, you're not quite sure where your kid's moving and what their thought process is, then find some cool stuff for them to do that's outside of the sport anyway. You're already over in that area of town. You already left the state. You're already gone, 200 miles away from home. Do something. Get somewhere. Let your kids see how big the world is. Again, this doesn't happen with very many other things. That week after week after week, you're going out and around. And you got to take advantage of that as a parent. I know you're exhausted. You got work. You got multiple kids. You got bills to pay. You're just exhausted. But this is your chance also to get out and see and do things. And so again, we're building up this pattern of the journey from 5 to 17 is just as important as your success, your kid's success as an athlete as you move forward. Here's the next thing. And this, I think, is we're going back to the beginning again. So now what you have to do is you got to let there's this gilded wall or golden handcuffs I'm seeing right now from the kids whose parents played high level. Like I said, if they played college or they played pro, they're building up this wall where the best athletes and the athletes from parents that were highly skilled, they're putting their kids over here. They're getting special training. They're getting nutrition. They're getting all this cool stuff. But I think they're going to lock themselves up. That's why I call it the golden handcuffs or the gilded wall. It looks over there, and you can't get in. You're not in. Unless your kid is really a superstar, they'll find you and they'll let you in the back door. But you're not really one of them. Do you really want to be over there? I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe that's going to change your kid's life because they're around these other people with a lot of money. Maybe that's your goal. But what I'm saying is that they're over there. They're getting trained a certain way. They're going to take the nutrition. They're going to all play based on some high-level trainer, nutritionist, whatever is going on over there. The way you train, the way you do things, your movement, your technique, all of that. They're all going to be over here on this one side. But what really makes, and I say this, and everybody always laughs at me when I say it, if you want your kid to have a successful youth sports career or sports career, they're going to have to be the best version of themselves at that sport. And so what ends up happening is our kids don't play just free play anymore. They don't just go get on their bike and ride down and get their friends, go get the next friend, go get the next friend, run over to the park. They don't just go and play freely anymore. We got to get back to that. You got to get your kids out on the field, or even if you have to go out there with them, just free. The way they move, every single kid is kind of different. And I say kind of because you can find somebody that made it to the highest level of a sport that play and move exactly like your kid. Now, maybe mentally they're a little bit different, but they made it to the highest level of their sport, and they move their shoulders, their arms, their legs, their length, their torso, whatever it is, you can see it. You go, that's how my kid moves. And that player is at the highest level. That's who your kid should start emulating. But this is key. Your kid also has to develop their own little sort of style on top of that. So they found this player. So go look everywhere at everybody that's playing, the position your kid's playing, all that kind of stuff. See who moves like your kid that made it to the highest level. Look at all-star games. Look at whatever sport it is, and see if you see your kid. Once your kid has locked into a sport, or you see something about them that makes this sport is their sport, it's easy for them, they fit right into it, now you guys need to go do some homework. You need to go look at video. Who moves like my kid? Watch how they do things, follow that, and then let your kid put some extra sauce on there, some juice, something different that makes them who they are. That is the key for them to be successful. If they're already going to be a pretty good, okay athlete, this can take them to the next level. They need to bring something to the game. Don't just play the game. And so I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at you, I know, but I am begging you guys, if you want your kid the world change, and this is the kind of the final piece I'm going to put on this, because I'm going to keep going with this. I'm going to pressure this over and over and over again. In order for your kid to be successful, it is going to be, they're going to go out into life. I don't know what the future is. I have my own ideas. I got my own grandkids now. I have an idea where I'm trying to steer them. I'm not their parent, I'm their grandparent, so I can influence a little bit. But what your kid's going to have to do, they're going to have to do the biggest word, the most important word in the world moving forward. It's and. They're going to have to go to school. They're going to have to get good grades. They're going to have to be a good person. They're going to have to maybe go to college or trade school, whatever you want to do. And they're going to get a job. They're going to work for somebody else for a little while. And that's changing a little bit, but it's going to be there. They're going to have to get a job. They got to bring money in. They got to live somewhere. They got a roof over their head. They have to have transportation, all that stuff. But then there's going to be an and that is the biggest word moving forward is and. What is their and? What else are they going to do? They're not going to have what we had or what you had coming before that. If you do everything right, you should be able to get a job. And what you hear now from everybody, and I hear it from all the younger people compared to me, younger is it could be 40s, so don't think about younger as somebody in their 20s. Everybody thinks that they deserve. They think they did everything right. That this should be a guarantee. I should be able to have one job and be able to pay my rent and buy a house or get a car or live free, whatever it is that people think they deserve. We had about a 20-year period where that was true. That's gone. You cannot do that anymore. You have to have an and your kids are more than ever going to have an and. And if you're going to have an and for your kids, for you, you could still go do something else, right? You could do something on the side. You could pick up a side hustle. You got your job. You can try to do something that way. Your kid's not going to have that ability. What they're going to have to do is those kids they grew up with, that's why I think sports is so important. Those kids that they grew up with, they need to connect with as many people as they can as they're moving forward, because they're going to have to get together and do it as groups. They're going to have to say, oh, okay, there's 4 or 5 of us. We all got along really, really well. I'm going to do this thing. Somebody in that group's going to want to do something. They're going to want to pull the other people in, and you guys are going to have to do that. And then your kid is, while they're helping build this other thing, because things will go over here, they may all go right, but from there, you got to go to the next thing. And you got a job, and you got a family. It's going to be a lot for them, but that will be their way of life. They will not complain about it because that's just the way it's going to be. And I think sports can be the catalyst for that going right for them. I know I'm going way too far. Put too much emphasis on sports, but I don't know anything else that will get you there. I literally do not, unless you're born into a world where your family owns a bunch of stuff and they've got money, old money, whatever it is, and they've got influence and they've got access. I don't know any other way to do this. Your kid's going to have to, and this is why it's going to be important for you as a parent to be able to vet other families, other parents, and get your kid around other kids that are good people. That is your key. Everything else can be worked out. Okay, so you're not pressing, you're not going to force your kid on some other kid that they don't get along with because their family's got access to all this. That's nonsense. What you're looking for is to get your kid around good people that do other things too. And then you're going to find out what other things your kid does. And you're going to use your access, the fact that you're traveling anyway, and you're going to emphasize that and let them feel it out a little bit more, a little bit better, and see where that goes. And then on top of that, as you guys are going places, you're going to take them different places to eat, things to do, things to see, broaden out their horizon so they can see. Maybe they'll find what their thing is. And then no matter what your thing is now, here's the beauty of it for your kids. No matter what your thing is now, you can take that and make money off of it because you can connect with other people that are interested in that too. And if you can figure out who you want to be of service to, you can do anything in the world. I am of service to you, the parent that has a kid. That is what I'm doing. Again, we have AthleticSOS. If your kid is a high school level athlete or even junior high, you can use our software absolutely no cost. And what we do in AthleticSOS right now is we take your kids, their grades, their GPA, their SAT, ACT scores. So that's their academic information. We take the sport that they play, whichever sport it is. It's one of those 34 sports. And then we take that and we put it together and we find the schools, whatever level you think they could play at the collegiate level, we will show you what schools they academically qualify to attend that offer that sport. For athletic scholarships. And so that gives you a list to start with. And we'll even tell them where they are on that list. So I know NCAA Division I is changed completely, and that's going to be important for you guys. And I'll talk more about that. You guys just subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep talking about that. I'll get you guys prepared for that. And so we've separated everything between three pieces, right? So we've got Discover, that's 5 to 9. And then we have what we call Focus. That's your junior high, your 10 to 12-year-old. You figured out your 2 sports, and now you need to dig deeper, and I'll teach you guys how to do that. And then finally, we talk about positioning. I think that's the most important thing you can do in your life. You're now in high school, 13 to 17. You've got to position yourself for where you want to go next. And we'll show you how to do that if it's athletics. If you want to play at the collegiate level, we can help you do that too. And so that's what the software is all about. And we're adding the stuff now to come back around. It's funny because when I first started this company, I was looking at, we made 2 products early on. One was for the 5 to 9. I knew how important to get off to a good start was. And then the other was the high school. We went with the high school, which is what AthleticSOS is focused on right now, only because they were running out of time. That was the thing. And I had gone through all of this with my kids. And so I know how many kids got left behind. My daughter almost got left behind because I didn't know what was going on. How do you get an athletic scholarship? I had no clue. And so I got lucky. Her high school coach was the brand new coach when she came in as a freshman. And he used to be a junior college coach, and he walked us through it. And I just took that and automated it because that's what I did for a living. So that's it. I mean, I digitized it more than anything. So that's it, you guys. I'm sorry. I went really long on this one. So sports is crucial. I say it's mandatory. Get your kid in. Get them in early. Get them in right. Make sure they're not surprised day one so they don't lose interest early on, and then you don't have a frustrating first season. But if you find the sport that they can do that's right for them, then you've got it made for them. Pick out 2 sports. We're going to move into junior high school. Those 2 sports should be in off seasons, obviously. You don't want them playing the same, sport that competes in the same season. If you've got any family members, if it's in your family, you guys are all good at something, that should be one of those sports because you know more about it than everybody else. You can get them off to a good start, or you can fix it if they stumble. Is your kid athletic? Is your kid more stoic? Is your kid outgoing? Are they more reserved? Whatever is going on, should they play an independent sport because they don't get along with a lot of people? Should they be in? Are you guys around water? Are you guys have a really big winter world where you are? These are things that you need to think about, but also make that other sport too, the one that just sort of fits them. All right, or one that they're really interested in. If they want to go to practice, that's a big deal. All right, guys, as always, best of luck to you in all your endeavors. Let's get your kid off to the start. It's the remarkable life is the key piece of this thing for me. And I always say this is the catalyst for it. It's curiosity, it's imagination, and then allow your kids to dream, daydream. Maybe they space out and they're just wondering. You're like, what are you doing? And then the final one is effort. That's on your kid. That's on you. That's on how you raise them. And so if they get these pieces together, they'll have that remarkable life that I think is the most important. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.